It's alive. Oh, it's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
I love you.
I know.
Go! Get to the chopper!
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
I see dead people.
Milk was a bad choice.
Hello and welcome to another episode of How to Be a Movie Snob. We have three hosts this evening or morning or whenever people listen to this. We'll start furthest away, coming to us from Grunge Central. Maybe once, no longer though.
The birthplace.
The birthplace of
Once upon a time.
Once upon a time. Mr. Pat Gillette. Welcome, Pat.
Hello,
Nice to have you.
Seth. Hello, Mariah.
Hi.
Good to be here.
And coming from second furthest away, same county that I'm in at this point, from the mighty plains of Dallas. Oregon. Dallas, Oregon. Mariah Gillette. Just kidding, it's Mariah Waller.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
And your host with the gear in Monmouth, Oregon, representing Seth Halligan, to talk about a doozy this week. A lot of feelings on this one. I'm
excited about this one.
Yeah, I'm excited where it goes because it's very uncomfortable, but I think it's uncomfortable on purpose, which kind of saves it. But we'll get there. So this one is
somewhat intentionally,
yes,
somewhat unintentionally.
somewhat intentionally, somewhat not. So on both things. So the movie is The Searchers, directed by Mr. John Ford, starring Mr. John Wayne and Natalie Wood, and those are the two I remember. Who else is starring in this one?
Ward Bond.
Oh, that's
as
right.
we
Ward Bond. So good.
discussed.
Oh, the Captain Reverend. Also, the
Reverend Captain.
Reverend Captain.
Captain.
Reverend Captain. This is often considered one of the best movies of all time. It's considered one of the most influential movies of all time. It's considered John Ford's greatest, possibly, arguably. It's considered the best Western of all time, arguably. It's got a lot of accolades on a lot of lists, depending on when that list came out. But everyone seems to have some sort of feelings and strong feelings about this movie. So this was the movie I suggested this week. It was another Western, but it felt so different than the last Western we watched. Like, comparing this to spaghetti Westerns is very, very different. And I'm glad we kind of did this so we can kind of make some homages to it. But let's start out, like we always do, with the summary.
Summarizing.
Summon Mariah to summarize.
The Searchers, 1956 John Ford movie.
Boom.
It opens with what's his face? What's his name?
Ethan?
Thank you.
Oh, there you go.
Ethan comes home to see his family a few years after the
Uncle
Civil War.
Ethan.
A few years after the Civil War ends. Is generally warmly greeted by his family.
Yeah.
And they get suddenly deputized real quick to go take care of some business. And when they come back, his family is gone. Murdered, kidnapped.
Ugh.
Two of his nieces are kidnapped. And then the search ensues to rescue them.
Yes. And the search goes on and on and on.
It's a lengthy
5-year search. 5 year plus, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And
It really earned the name, The
really
Searchers.
did.
Yeah.
They really, the title was not misleading at all. And there's a lot of shenanigans that goes on. And
Yes.
then, spoiler alert, folks, we are going to talk about the end. They do find her. And then, yeah.
I think we'll talk about a lot of the
talk
movie.
about that.
Yeah.
It'll be
That's
All spoilers.
That's
all spoilers.
a lot of the fun intenseness of it all.
All right.
Can I start off with just a really great fact here that
Please do.
we, the three of us, will appreciate the mostest?
Is it about Jeffrey
Yeah.
Hunter? Is it about Jeffrey Hunter?
Yeah.
Yes, then I know exactly what you're saying because I was just about to say
Oh,
that. It's such a
Jeffrey.
good one. It's a good one. I already know where you're going.
I don't know this. I don't know this one.
Christopher Pike.
The original.
Right?
It makes so much sense now. I'm like, he looks so familiar,
Yeah.
but he doesn't.
Boy, I know that face.
Man, that face is, yeah.
Star
Captain
Trek.
Pike.
He was before Kirk. He was the original captain.
The original Pike.
And then we just see him show up in that sweet box wheelchair.
Yeah, that wheelchair was dope.
Blinky light.
Very nice.
Beep, 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 beep. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a good
okay.
one. I'm glad. Way to
That
start out with
is,
that one.
I digress, but I
that was a good
couldn't
one.
wait. It was super exciting. I didn't want us to miss it.
That's great.
It felt like he had a recognizable face, but I didn't.
Well, yeah.
I definitely didn't have that.
Yeah.
So
I,
yes,
well,
good call.
I didn't
good
notice when we were watching the movie. I was like, oh, he's like the Ricky Nelson-ish guy.
Right.
Because Ricky's in so many
Yeah.
westerns.
For
Call. Yeah,
sure.
you gotta have.
The good looking.
I felt like the.
He's really good looking too. Same thing. Distractingly good looking.
Yeah,
Like,
I felt like the Brad Jorgensen was more the Ricky in this one. Anyway, just a little bit more whiny.
Mm, yeah.
You know.
Indeed.
good stuff.
But yeah, so obviously we all, well, certainly Mariah and I, John Wayne graced the screen in our house many a
Yes.
time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But I think this one, I don't remember like watching all the way through really in any particular time. I don't know that this
remember-
one specifically
Yeah.
we watched all that much.
I remember seeing this in pieces certainly, but I know when I said to our mother that, oh, we're doing the Searchers this week, and she goes, oh, it's real dark.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I
it's
could
not
see
it's not
why.
a feel good kind of thing. So I think it was maybe
Yeah.
just not watched over and over in our house
Yes.
because it wasn't a fave.
I can see that.
Yeah. But how about you, Seth? Had you
First time.
was this
first
familiar?
time.
Okay.
Mm.
It was interesting though because it's so like the set John Ford used for other movies. I mean the same location. I mean, so it's very iconic of like
Yeah,
a million other
Monument
movies.
Valley.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Monument Valley, and so it's hard to think. I'm like I feel like I've seen it, but I don't remember any plot points. I don't remember any. Like there was nothing. The fact. I was surprised. I'm like, what's he gonna do? Are you serious? Like, how is that okay? I'm like, oh, he's not a good so yeah, no, I think I gotta go through all the emotions. Because you see John Wayne and you see Western, you're like, okay, here we go. I know this. I know the formula. Let's just go through this. But then I was like, I did not expect that. I did not expect like the death right away or I'm like, oh, they're just gone. They just killed them. Okay, we're moving on now.
So this was another one like, well, one, I felt two things very quickly in succession. When we open and we follow out Martha, I forget the original mother's name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We follow her out the doorway and it's that great silhouette and the camera kind of turns the corner and we see Monument Valley. I went like, oh, holy cow! Like this movie's gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and then
and even that first door scene.
Mm-hmm.
That first, the first. Yeah, I'm like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here. This is awesome.
What all felt like paintings.
Yep.
And just amazing compositions, and then just gorgeous scenery and the color grading. Like all instantly, like hit me like, oh, okay, I'm in for a treat visually. And then Ethan gets in. We learn a little bit about like, oh, he was a Reb, he was
I know
on the Confederate side. And so it kind of gave me flashbacks to like the general where I was like, oh,
I had the same feelings.
our protagonist isn't like on the right side of history.
Yeah.
And so you
and
go,
he's talking down to the Northerners. It was like, you are less of a person for being a Northerner.
Well, yeah.
And you didn't. I've always sworn my allegiance to one country.
Yeah, and it's he starts right off, being a Confederate soldier, and then dives right into his standoffishness towards Marty, who's
a little racism thrown in right away.
American.
Yeah.
And the racism just gets worse and worse.
But what was interesting was like, so I immediately had those like, dichotomies of like, oh, this movie looks amazing. Oh no, this protagonist is flawed.
Are we allowed to say this is a good movie?
Yeah. And then, but then as stuff went along, you certainly gain more understanding for all the awful things that happened and people were doing, both with our villain, Scar, and with Ethan, in a way that, not that you necessarily sympathized or empathized with, but you understood them a little bit more. That I thought, like, it got me back in, and I've certainly, you go, well, the murders, those are pretty bad, so I'll maybe root for this racist guy to, like, get revenge for the murders. Like, anyway, it was sort of this interesting journey as an audience member I was going through right away.
Yeah, I got stuck right away with this is so problematic. Like, I don't feel good about it. But the story and the acting really pulled me into getting through I got through the whole thing. Yeah, with a dull, this guy's icky. But so many Westerns that involve Native Americans are going to be misrepresented. They're portrayed by not Native American. There's all those kind of,
this one as well,
but that's that was very standard at the time. But the story, the fact that it was, loosely based on events that really happened, and they did it was a, gorgeous backdrop. And I found myself getting through this as a Western more than any Westerns we've watched so far. It was an easier watch for me, I guess.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And there was never the awkward moments of the good, the bad, and the ugly. It didn't have those, other than the kooky humor that was just, very of the time.
Yeah.
Definitely there's some humor was a little.
The poor simple Mo guy. That was
was off-putting too.
Apparently he was based off some guy named Mad Mose. So that was like, even that where we're like, ugh,
but I was really delighted he got his rocking chair.
Yeah. And then even like Charlie McCrory, the eventual suitor of Lori.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it was also like, what's his deal?
Yeah.
Does he just have such a horrible drawl that he doesn't sound like he's had any education? Or
yeah, the things seemed a little off. But yeah, but the other thing I think, contrasting that immediate racism and like all the connotations you have with a Confederate soldier, going west too, which sort of a double friction with natives in Mexico and all, like there's a lot of like not great relationships going on in early Southwest times in America, but he was like really sweet to his sister-in-law, which interesting little
seemed like
unsaid thing.
That kind of gave you, I had that feeling in the beginning just watching the way they were kind of, she was looking at him and then he was kissed her on the forehead a number of times, and it was kind of like, I feel like she's finding, at least she is. I wasn't sure about him.
And I would say it's obvious right away, and if you were thinking this was a regular Hollywood movie, that would have been played out. But the more I think about this movie, is the brilliance of this movie is in the subtleties. And so,
yes,
because
a lot of things went unsaid, unseen.
That relationship with Martha,
Mm-hmm.
I think Martha's her name, right?
I think so.
Is arguably the force that drives him possibly through the whole movie. Because if he's in love with Martha and she just got killed in such a horrible way, he wants revenge. Not just for and the racist stuff comes up in different ways later.
And saving her children.
Exactly right. Like there's a lot.
Not just his nieces.
Well, and maybe his
yeah, maybe
kid?
they're his children.
Oh, I didn't think of that angle. But
he-
he's been gone for a while, hasn't he?
8 years.
Oh.
Oh.
And I believe Debbie was like 8.
Yeah.
Wow, so that's a hot take. I like that one.
Interesting.
Could have
Could be
been
her
a little
kids.
bit like he's actually rescuing his daughter.
Yeah.
Jeez,
which
and then that's even
complicated
more
a
of a
lot of stuff.
messed up
Well,
situation.
and then the very brief conversation with his brother about, well, do you want me to go? And he says, you're as welcome. You're as welcome as long as you want to be here. But it seemed like there was already an understanding that there was some animosity, and maybe his brother, like, I know my wife really digs you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're my brother.
Well, and they did some good, like, I mean, fairly obvious, but like as she got his coat and she's sort of petting it and
Sniffing
definitely
it,
like,
I
yeah,
believe.
she
I think she
yeah,
was
she
smelling
yes,
it.
I think so too, which probably not what would be not
That
a good
is-
I
smell.
hope she'd laundered it first.
I know.
But I did really like that was just, to your point, Seth, like that would have been, I think in a lot of movies, that would have been a much bigger thing.
Oh, and they would have painted it bigger and they would have forced it down our throats, but they just barely
But
put
it
the
was this
background.
kind of nice, like, oh boy, there's a lot of shades going on in this family dynamic. And then as the movie goes on and you think about like also how much guilt, because he was like, no, I'm gonna go out on this raid and you stay here, brother. And then everyone, like there's just so many factors of what drives him.
And it kind of mirrors too in the Marty, Lori, and what's the Charlie situation too. Like it could have played out that way, that generation before, where there's not so many ladies available out in the West.
No, there's not.
They make some choices to they marry who they marry, and
Yeah, that
they
girl
might have been like, ooh, I really wanted to marry that guy.
The least believable part is her waiting 5 years for the guy. That was the least. I mean, he's a good looking guy. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah.
But then there's no other.
Well, and yeah,
option, I
if
suppose.
Charlie's your only other option,
That's fair. That's fair. I was even thinking there's gonna be that twist because it's Natalie Wood. That Natalie Wood was gonna be the romantic with.
It's not really his sister, so.
Yeah, exactly right. I thought it was gonna be like the Clueless situation.
Oh, I
like
see.
Clueless.
Yeah, but she was only supposed to be 14, I think, by the time she'd been rescued.
Oh, seriously? That's funny. And this is funny because this is
Yeah.
after she'd already done the Rebel Without a Cause and won an Oscar for it. So
this was after.
I think so, yeah. Because I was watching an interview with her. It was hilarious, and it was so sexist. The interview. Well, there's my favorite little Comanche chief, or whatever, Comanche gal or whatever. It's like, well, you're the best looking.
Squaw.
It was just hilarious. Yeah, squaw. I'm sure they said.
Year before.
Yeah, so she just came off of the Oscar win to do this movie.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it's interesting. She didn't
And
get
she was hardly in it.
Yeah, exactly right.
She's barely in it.
John Ford's like, we need some young
She
appeal.
was in it enough though that you really got sucked into her. Plus, just knowing she was in it, going into it, going, oh, once they do find her,
She's like,
it's gonna be Natalie Wood.
Yeah.
So let's keep watching to see how this all plays out. I bet that was a bit of it might have gotten people through the slower parts of the movie, because I know critics said this kind of dragged on a little bit, but I'm thinking, well, it certainly didn't drag on as much as other movies did for me.
Are you kidding me? 7 Samurai.
Yeah, I actually.
It didn't feel like.
I mean, you could argue you could have cut some stuff out for sure, but like, I don't remember it feeling like it dragged. I think where it got weird, and maybe like Seth, you're talking about, like the tonal shifts when we kind of get back into sort of the Marty Lori subplot, and
yeah,
like that wasn't as interesting to me outside, I guess, comparing like what Marty is in theory potentially sacrificing to become Ethan, to pursue these revenge adventures. Like he's sacrificing a life he could have, like a real life. And so I think that having that contrast was kind of interesting, and seeing how it could occur.
And more than once, he had options,
Yeah.
2 or 3 times to stay and not continue with
Yeah.
this.
But otherwise, I was like, I don't know how much I care about this. And like the weird dad.
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard. And it felt like it I don't know, cheapened the movie, but having the gee haw, does she like me sort of thing. Like the guy's not understanding how it all works. And I'm like, it feels like Oklahoma's in the middle of this movie when you're painting this real, it's the most real character John Wayne's ever played that's like awful and racist and like and it's a very gritty, like not John. It's not as perfect as a John Wayne character that he usually plays. So it's like, oh, he's not a good dude. Like,
yeah.
And the nice thing about that is, I realized, I'm like, oh, the audience probably then would also recognize he's not a good dude. Mm-hmm. It's not like they're like cheering for him, and that helped me think, oh,
no, but the fact that everyone loved him.
Oh,
despite his horrible personality. And I mean, in the movie, Martha loves him, the girls love him, Martin loves him, everybody.
Well, he's sweet to them. Sure. Like I think that was the thing they showed right away, was like he was sweet to the girls.
When he's not trying to kill them, of course.
Brother.
Yeah.
But yeah, not Martin.
Yes.
Martin, gets the race, calls him blanket head several times and doesn't want him to come with him, ditches him multiple times, tells him he's going to
uses them as bait.
Debbie, and he's still like, I'm going to follow you and be just like you.
Oh, it's so, yeah. So I kept thinking about this movie of like, it's the greatest of all time. And the way it's shot, I was like, yeah, this is great. I still can't get over it. Like when I look at it, I'm like, how is everything so in focus? I just can't get over how
it's gorgeous,
crisp, and how I was like, what kind of film stock did they use? And I started looking up like, what's that, like Panavision or whatever it is? I mean, it makes it look softer.
Like VistaVision or something.
VistaVision, that's what it was. VistaVision.
But every close up, like the campfire and all that stuff, was all lot.
Oh,
that was, speaking of the visuals, it was a bit of a bummer when they clearly went to a studio.
100%.
Very obvious.
And
lit things.
Yeah,
I didn't actually mind when it was dusk, like right before the raid, and it was just super orange. There was something kind of like heightened about how fake it was that I didn't mind it in that one. But then later you just got to like, oh, this is just kind of a crappy set.
Yeah.
And not that it, really was crappy, but it just in comparison, to every external shot where you're like, holy cow.
Yeah.
I mean, every real external shot. I think maybe some of the winter shots and the campfire scene, we're all like in a weird lot. But that was a bummer. Because it was so beautiful, just the composition,
it was
the silhouetting of like, the Comanche.
Yeah,
I'm a little confused about what you're supposed to say now.
Yeah.
I always thought it was Comanche, but they kept saying Comanche.
Yeah.
But when they're riding along,
Comanche. What was that? I didn't get that.
Yeah, when you're riding along, like they're riding along the hill next to this sort of. What's her face, like the Rangers or whatever. It was just like, wow, this is like such amazing shots that it kept blowing me away. And even how vibrant the colors were without it feeling oversaturated. Like, they had some kind of yellow filter going on that kind of made everything feel cohesive, but it still felt like amazingly bright.
I think the sky's got to be painted though. Like some of it looked like it wasn't moving when everything else was moving. Like I wonder if they did the sky in post. Yeah,
there was definitely, I think, some studio shots where the
Oh,
sky
for
is
sure.
very fake.
For sure. But man, the outside shots for sure. Like,
So great.
oh, so great. Yeah. So that was, and it's John Ford. Like, he's been in his craft, by the way. I'm so glad we're doing a John Ford movie because he's the part 3 of the trifecta who went to World War II. So it's nice to actually see his craft. And this is, of course, the guy that.
Well, and he didn't he win some Oscars for documentary during the war or
100%.
something?
Yeah,
I
he's
think
the
he
one
went
actually
and filmed. Yeah,
exactly right. Because he actually, got the job done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so, and it's fun because he's like the last of that World War II era. And what year is this movie? This is
56.
56. So we're talking about a decade after the war ish. Doing a lot of Westerns.
Yeah. And a lot with John Wayne.
Yeah. By the way, I was just thinking I'm gonna totally shift left here. The horsemanship, the ability to ride horses up crazy cliffs, through water, through snow, through deep snow. It was crazy stunts. Like, the stunts in this, I think, are legit.
There were some moments too where you saw exactly where John Wayne got back on the horse, and it was like at the bottom of the hill. And
For
you're
sure.
like, that guy was
For sure. He was not in the deep snow.
participating.
He was
in
not in
Well,
the
there were
deep snow.
a couple jump cuts where you're like,
Yeah.
we're just gonna pull in a little bit tighter, and
Or
now
like
it's
his-
Johnny hopping off the horse.
Or his shoes look brand spanking new
Right.
suddenly, and you're like, what?
Hold the phone.
Yeah, but you're right, and I actually kind of hate to think like how many horses probably were killed making this movie,
Yeah, right?
because they certainly did the rope trips,
Oh, sure did. Yep.
and so like they're breaking some legs or something. I don't know. I hope not.
Yeah. I mean, they
definitely
they
was
said
a
they
time
didn't,
where-
but yeah, they probably did. So
It was dangerous
for sure.
And like I remember when the captain, Reverend Captain Clayton, falls off as they're
Reverend
crossing the
Clapton
river.
Ranger. Yeah, that
I
looked
was
like,
thinking like that probably was not on purpose.
No.
Yeah.
And there was a
We're gonna
couple
use it.
scenes
We're
where
gonna
like
use it.
the Native Americans are running away, and like there was a horse that was underneath another horse, and there was a guy like right there. I'm like, that was an injury, and someone's not coming back from the next day on
Right.
set. Like, I'm like, I don't know what happened, but that was bad. There was a couple bad cuts. Like, they're going through this perfectly clean, like, gorgeous river, and then they're shooting at, and then all of a sudden they're in this muddy bog falling down. I'm like,
Yeah,
that's not even the same location.
I wasn't sure
What's going on
like,
right
why
now?
Yeah.
How did they run into that? And
Yeah.
our guys
Yeah, they're
just
like,
crossed the
oh,
river all
we need
easily.
some more B-roll.
Yeah.
We need some water. Oh, LA's got
Yeah.
some over here.
But yeah, the
Also,
the soldiers going through like the frozen river, like that was
Oh my gosh, that was
super.
impressive.
I
Yeah.
just kept thinking, brr, those guys are at least getting their legs wet.
Oh,
Like that's cold, and those horses. Oh
no,
my
that was
gosh.
legit. That
how
was-
fast when they do that final raid, how quickly they're running through
mean, they
like
sped-
the encampment.
They sped it up, of course, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but like it was
And
it was pretty
on
crazy.
and off the horse. Like some of those guys, the way
Yes.
they jumped off the horse, it was so smooth.
Yeah.
And even John Wayne knows his way around a horse. Like he was
Oh, yeah.
quite impressive.
When
'Cause
he had, when
when it was his shots, I was like, oh yeah, you know what you're doing.
I think it was him that went right into the TP.
Yeah, that's legit.
Yeah.
That's like, oh
It's pretty cool.
yeah, that was really cool.
On the other hand, so the gunplay. So John Wayne obviously
little
doing very cool.
Flashy, a little.
Yeah. But like
I'm gonna
cool.
need your,
I'm down.
I'm gonna need your gun.
I'll be your Huckleberry.
There were several like, oops, I fired my blank too quick shots, like close up shots. So like right after John Wayne throws him Reverend Clayton his gun,
Oh
he's
yeah.
like, careful, it's loaded. And
nice.
he
nice
went to
Pat. Your John Wayne is
Thank you.
on.
he went to draw and he fired like down.
Yeah, it was
Like,
hilarious.
He wasn't up all the way, and I was
But
thinking,
there was a moment
well-
where they kind of looked at each other
But
over
that-
that. Like
I think
you
that was
did
funny.
it. Like you didn't.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was
There was a lot of bad
again,
shooting.
It was subtlety. Like there's a lot of subtle things that weren't like other than like some of like the acting that our pretty boy did. There's a couple of those scenes that were like overly terribly acted, but
That guy did some good stunts every time he fell off that bench.
Oh yeah, that was,
That
He was
was
gonna crack his
legit.
head open.
That was
That
legit.
poor bench.
Yeah, no, but that I was actually pretty impressed. How do we feel
Mrs.
about
Polly?
Mrs. Polly? How do we feel about the acting in this movie? It's a weird thing to say because as good as this movie is, the act I think John Wayne does a really good job. In the fact that he's playing himself, his usual role, but like a worse
person.
Yeah, a flawed
person.
John Wayne.
Yeah, but it's still John Wayne, so it's hard
Closer-
because you like
Closer to the Rooster Cockburn John Wayne, but
Yeah.
still
Right.
pretty John Wayne.
Yeah. I felt like it was very up and down. I
Right.
felt like there
Yeah.
were some moments where I was like, this is not well. This is I'm not buying any
Yeah.
of this. But then there was also times when I was like, well, that was good. They really got that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It was uneven, but there's something about westerns or even just movies of this era where like they're just characters,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like appealing enough to me to like give a pass on some of the portrayals.
Mm-hmm.
Like honestly, like Moe's, and you could argue whether that's based off someone or not is problematic in some ways. Was like appealing to me as this interesting character.
Oh, for sure.
Although he didn't. Sometimes he felt genuine, like in real, and sometimes he didn't.
Yeah.
And same with
I bought it mostly.
Charles McCrory or whatever. You know,
Mhm.
you're like, what interesting people in the Reverend. Like he's always at an 11, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even when they're like trying to be quiet,
Yeah.
like we're sneaking up in this village. He's like, what are you doing? And you're like, bro, take it down a notch.
Man.
So I don't know, like it, and Natalie Wood, it's very broad. I'm acting, in some of her scenes, but like they're all like movie stars, and so it
Right.
kind of works.
Yeah. I thought she
But it
did-
wasn't
she wasn't in it
good.
very much, but I thought she did pretty good. She sure played the I'm really terrified and I don't know really what to think kind of
Yeah.
part very well.
Yeah, and I'm still because I just finished. I watched it. Yeah, so recently. I just watched it today. And I was
15
like, oh my
minutes
God, 15
ago.
minutes ago. I'm watching it right now as we're talking. No.
Wait, let me get to the end.
Hold
Does
on,
she-
I'm not there
does
yet.
she live?
She dies? What?
No.
Natalie Wood character doesn't
Uh,
die. By the way, spoiler.
Oh yeah, I mean, but actually, let's jump to the end.
Okay.
I actually did think
He was
they were gonna.
killer.
I mean, I didn't like. He tried. If he didn't get hit by the arrow, he might have done the deed. And then, a thing I liked about the movie was like they were definitely playing up. He thought it was better for her to be dead than to be
Comanche, yeah,
a
that
Comanche. And
It's
but at the end of the day, love conquered all, and he lifted her up just like he did at the beginning of the movie. We had this full circle moment.
Yeah, exactly
He took
right.
her home. That was like, I was like, oh dang, like cool. And then
Mhm.
we get that final hallway shot where, honestly, like as an animator, I would have been like, whoa, you're making this guy look real weak with how he's standing, like he's holding his arm, like
exactly
he's
right.
super uncomfortable. But like, I mean, it fit for the character kind of, but I probably still never would have posed him like that. And he wanders off because like he's, he thought like she couldn't go back to society, but he can't go back to society, right? Like he's too broken. It was
Mhm.
great. Like what a cool, sad, but like also like, the good things kind of happened outside of all the murdering.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Like it was like a pretty
I thought was the worst part
unexpected.
was the
Best case
murdering.
scenario.
The murdering is what I thought was the
out
worst
of
part.
the worst.
You know,
case.
It's
Well, part
no
of
like
history.
it's no Shane slumped over on his horse
Yeah.
as
For
far
the-
as like sad endings go, but
Right.
it still was like, oh, this is like bittersweet, right?
Yeah. For the unfortunate part of history we witnessed in this movie, it ended in a way that I was like, okay, I'm satisfied. I'm kind of glad he went off by himself because he's not really cool to be around for very long.
Yeah. No, and it was the same. He was the loner coming in, and he was the loner going out.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't part of it before, and he wasn't.
But everyone
part of it
else got reunited and had semi-happy. Well, the white folks had a semi-happy ending.
Yeah.
Poor Luke.
I was like, you beat me to look. You beat me to look. Yeah, exactly right. Oh.
She got mixed up in this. Like what he bought her for the hat.
I don't know.
What was that exchange?
He was getting a blanket full of stuff, but he got a wife.
Yeah. Poor Luke. Also, I was a little confused. She laid out that rock arrow, and Ethan was like, she rode off that way, like, and it was like that. I thought she was maybe pointing them to like where Scar would be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're asking, but he's like, nah, she ran off that way. That was a little weird to me.
I assumed she was pointing them in the direction they needed to go, not that.
Yeah, and she just took
off. Hey,
off.
This is where I'm going.
Yeah.
Right, because like,
Mrs.
why
Polly
would you run
was
away
also not
and
into being married to him anymore at that point when he kicks her down a hill?
Dude, that kick was crazy. That stunt, I was saying.
And then we don't see her for a while,
such
and I'm like,
a hard kick, and I'm like, was that a person? Or was that like just a duffel bag? Like I just kind of want to rewind that part because it was such a hard kick, and it was like
awful.
Like as an animator, Pat, I'm surprised that's not the first thing you brought up in this movie because that thing was nutty.
No, I mean that's a good point.
That is
straight out of Warner Brothers.
I'm like, this is awful and hilarious all at the same time.
And the fact that Martin's the one that did it,
the one who's supposed to be the hero character, who's like supposed to bring like the heart behind it. Come on now.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
it's so funny. Yeah. So
poor Luke.
Oh, and then I didn't know how I felt about that whole scene. I'm like,
why she died. Also, like, why was she dead?
The cavalry went and shot up a village because that's what they do, and she was just in the crossfire. So I thought, I guess getting back to like as flawed as things were, there was some amount of like everyone's committing atrocities thing. Still it was from the white perspective, but like they didn't give everyone this easy pass.
Yeah.
Like they could have, but it was still very problematic. And the biggest one to me was one, like almost everyone else that you saw close up from Scar's war party or tribe was native.
Mm-hmm.
They're like Pueblo or something.
Except for Scar.
Except for Scar, who's some German guy who plays a bunch of villains. And I thought, like, I wonder what, like, they were so close to being like, we could cast one of these native Americans as our lead Scar, and they would have probably been dope because it's not like he did a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He had like the one line, like, where you learn Comanche.
Yeah,
and
I like that line.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. By the way,
but that was it.
Yeah.
By the way, I feel like Seth did not get enough playtime in this movie. Do you guys see the character named Seth?
No. Did he die?
No.
No, he was the guy who took the horses from Ethan and
Martin.
And then he takes him offside, and then he goes to talk to him.
And that was Seth.
That was Seth.
Oh, that was nice.
Thanks, Seth.
He's not
Speaking of littler parts,
not even on the list. I was like, that is messed up. But they said his name, folks.
Well, you want
my namesakes.
You want some fun facts?
Yes.
Oh, please!
Before
I can't wait for these
takeaways.
Fun fact time.
Fun fact time.
Yeah. So, Ethan's got a catchphrase in this movie, right?
Yeah.
That'll not
be
fun.
The day.
And that was I'm not gonna lie. That
was redundant.
I got a little angry every single time he said it.
Okay, but the fun fact is Buddy Holly watched this movie a year before. And his one of his bandmates was like, wouldn't it be great if we had a hit song? And he said, that'll be the day. And then they wrote that song.
Yeah, that is the best thing, Pat.
Yes.
Pat, this is
So
a
there you
slow
go.
clap for you, man. That is
I should have ended on that
freaking
one now because I think the rest are going to be less cool.
gold.
But
But
that's
that
a
was
high
pretty
standard right there.
cool.
That's a high standard. That's a good one.
Pretty cool, weird
that
thing.
might have beat Captain Pike.
Ooh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Captain
Neck
Pike's
and
legit.
neck. Neck and neck.
But that'll be the day. I've
but
heard
other-
that from the Buddy Holly side, but I've never knew the Searchers. So now that I'm on the movie side of things, I'm like,
Yeah.
that's kind of cool.
And then the annoying Lieutenant Greenhill who comes in with his saber and eventually somehow stabs.
Why was that? Why
Clayton.
was he there? Why was that part in the movie?
Well, that is John Wayne's son, Patrick Wayne.
I did not know that.
So little bit of nepotism going
awesome.
Hey, whatever. Who cares? That's fine.
on. We discussed Natalie Wood.
Yep.
Who is apparently, because she was in high school still,
What?
would get picked up by like John Wayne to go film sometimes, and it would like
Ooh,
made everyone pretty excited.
that's kind of creepy.
I
mean,
well, it was like taking her to set, and I think John and maybe Jeffrey Hunter like would go pick her up from school to go film or something crazy.
oh my gosh.
And then a couple things in the like John Wayne's like a nice guy. Apparently, Look was crying in a tent one day, and John Wayne's like, "What's the problem?" She's like, "I'm afraid of her son's wedding or something, because we're filming." And so John Wayne's like, "All right, let's stop filming. I'll fly you to California so you can be at the wedding and come back." Like, oh, that's nice. That's a nice.
That's
little
cool.
story.
Nice.
Aw.
Want to go, John Wayne?
He was friends
Yeah.
with my friend Julie's grandpa,
What?
and they really liked him.
Way to go. Well,
Yes, I forgot
John.
about that as like a little fun fact.
Yeah.
From our life.
Little connection.
huh.
I can't remember
Um,
why.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
I'll
don't
have
know
to
either.
ask again.
yeah.
But I think those are mostly my fun facts. Obviously, there's a bunch of
Wow.
influences.
So that means
from
Natalie
this.
Wood won an Oscar before she graduated high school.
Oh yeah.
That's dope.
She was a
Evidently.
youngster.
That's dope. Okay.
I mean, she'd been acting a bit,
Yeah.
Miracle on
Yes.
34th Street.
That's right. Oh, that's fair.
One of those child actors who
Mm-hmm.
made it until trouble in adulthood.
That
Mhm.
unfortunate boat accident.
Accident.
Robert.
Oh no! I think I went into this once, but I forget.
Man, I wish that story had more information. I really want it to be
Yeah.
a good, juicy one, but it doesn't.
Yeah, it's just a lot
Oh,
of
she died the year I was born.
fishiness.
Wasn't Christopher
Ooh.
Walken on that
Fishiness.
boat too?
I think he was also on that boat.
Yeah, he was.
Really?
So interesting.
Oh, that's fascinating. Huh.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
But yeah,
Good.
what
that-
what did we think of this?
Oh, so many thoughts. So a couple things. It helped me when I started to think about the subtleties. And it also helped me when I started to think about the motivations and that John Wayne's not supposed to be the hero.
Mhm.
That helped me enjoy the movie a lot more. Because at first I'm like, oh, it's John Wayne. Holy crap, I can't get behind this. And I'm like, oh, this is on purpose. And they're not like, because he's a maniac shooting eyes out of a dead person.
Oh yeah,
like
that
he's a
was-
straight maniac. Like there's nothing about this that's like, you're like, oh, he's crazy. Like he's the one that's gonna go. How is he? Because it painted it up like more. Like I was thinking more of like a True Grit character,
Right.
where he's like,
I think this was better than Rooster Cockburn. I think it was
right.
very dark, very troubled, very flawed.
Oh, and just
Not just quirky and drunk.
kill to kill someone because they became part of that tribe. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And so then I'm like, well, maybe that was a thing. I'm sure that was a thing. If I know anything about the history of America, it's probably a thing.
For sure.
And I'm like, that probably happened before. And then I started going, this is where my brain, tribal warfare historically, that stuff happens a lot. Like you get taken by a different tribe. And this, we're talking like Mongolia, we're talking about like Africa, we're talking about old European.
Well, and the Comanche didn't just take settlers.
No.
They took people, other tribes, slaves, essentially.
But then that was just how they repopulated their tribe, because
and they were doing it in retribution for what was happening in the first place.
So it makes me think about like this transition to a different like norm of how things happen back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And it also makes me think like when the daughter in the teepee held up the hair,
mm-hmm.
that made Ethan angrier because it's the woman he loves hair and the daughter's not, and is the one who's holding it up. And so that, I wonder if that was like made it.
And also, was the hair supposedly of Martin's mom?
Right.
Oh yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like
saying.
Recognizable people that he loved,
and then she's just chilling with it. Like, and so it's also, it's also the self-loathing that also makes the character better because he's worse. It's like he's such a flawed character. It makes
refusing to be sworn in.
Oh yeah,
no.
The annoying thing is that it's still John Wayne, and that I feel like people would want to like him.
Mm-hmm.
And so the big problem I have with it is it's like I could see people watching this and be like, yeah, he's right.
Oh yeah,
when that's not what John
totally
Ford's...
Well, there was definitely a huge population that was like, yeah, Confederacy,
right,
for sure.
It's like when Dave Chappelle stopped making some of his jokes because people are like, yeah, that's right. Like, bro, I'm making a joke to make fun of this because how stupid it is. And then, so that's...
Yeah, people can definitely interpret it the ways they want. But I agree. Like, I think something that helped, again, it was not a perfectly nuanced, they didn't thread the needle of all the things. And I'm not going to give it an A for effort on that front, but like, B.
But it's
B-
1956. It's not bad for
of
the
the
year.
time.
For sure.
They were trying to be like,
mm-hmm.
hey, this wasn't all sunshine and roses,
right?
On any which side, and they, I think, pretty deliberately tried to make John Wayne not a likable character.
Yeah,
it just was John Wayne, right? It's like it's Tom Hanks, it's Jimmy Stewart.
Sure.
You put those guys in roles that are dark, you're still like, yeah, but I kind of like this guy.
It's like Training Day. That's how Denzel Washington won his Oscar. So this is John Wayne's like Training Day, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and
so you kind of,
if it's John Ford or if it's the writer that they were interviewing and talking about like the Native American aspect of it, and he was like, and the misrepresent, you're representing them by all these white folks, and
right?
Actors, and I think he was just kind of saying, yeah, I recognize that that's true. It's also true for, society and...
Yeah. And
and even that was like, they dipped their toe in.
Mm-hmm.
Let's actually cast Native Americans for these Native roles, except for Scar. Like, again, all the featured
it was nice to see at least...
Holly, too, like Jeffrey Hunter's character, like he also was like, the fact that he was part Native American.
Oh yeah.
And he's the hero. Yeah, that's the best.
That's nice.
Because that was the thing. Like John Wayne's always making fun of him too, and saying I used to kill people.
I thought you were saying like because I don't know if he actually has any Native heritage.
No, I'm sure. No. I'm not saying he does. I'm just saying.
I think they just tanned him up a little bit.
So the question,
his sidekick really was.
Yeah, so they're trying to make at least a Native American person be the hero, the moral one, because Jeffrey Hunter's character is the moral one.
Mm-hmm.
He's the hope. He's the one who's not like just worn down by time. He still has like dreams and hope in the world, and he just does what's right. He just does what's right all the time, and he's a doofus when it comes to love, of course, because that's how they portray men back.
Yeah, there's always kind of infantilized versions of young men. Like, I don't understand anything.
Oh, I don't understand. That girl wants to sleep with me. Said no man ever.
I thought
Yeah.
it was also
But-
interesting that they did that whole part in the movie of visiting the people that had been captive of the Comanche and brought back to the post, and they like went and saw like those girls that were totally not,
they all went crazy,
not human anymore, really.
That was rough. That was like
That
some
was kind of like,
PTSD
is that
stuff, and,
it
like,
was, I mean,
I don't know what to think
I don't
about
know
that.
that
Well,
it
that
was
was trying
super
to-
accurate, but it was definitely an attempt to
Right.
say like, yeah, at a certain point you've been in a different society for so long that it's kind of
Well,
hard to come
and I
back.
think that was meant to reinforce Ethan's idea that it would be better to kill her than see her become, you know, what these girls and
right,
women have become.
right.
That's yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Definitely not dancing
again,
with
like-
wolves ish.
Right. And that is also the problem too, I assume.
you know, at the end, even though I have a bunch of issues with bits and pieces,
Mhm.
I really enjoyed watching this movie.
Yeah, same.
And
Oh, yeah,
man,
definitely.
if you don't want to like deal with, you know, some of the weird
Suspend
humor
your
and
disbelief, shock.
and some of the culturally insensitive depictions, just look at some shots.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
It's
and
beautiful.
admire
and just
the
be
fact that
blown away.
yeah, the shots versus the in studio shots and the acting versus the not good acting, like it's, you know, you get about the same ratio, I think, of those things, and it was an easy movie to get through.
Yeah, super easy.
It really was.
I really enjoyed where the story went. I like how it ended. It was beautiful. There were so many beautiful parts.
Yeah. And it was revenge against revenge, you know, kind of a Moby Dick in a lot of ways, right?
Mhm.
Like
Yep.
Ethan became so consumed with revenge that nothing else
Yeah, what did
mattered. And
they
he went a little crazy.
And Scar's
They
kind
compared
of
it to Homer's Odyssey.
yeah, and
Yeah.
Scar's kind of a mirror image him as well.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Consumed
100%.
by
Yeah.
revenge as well.
Yeah.
Which I liked. It was kind of late in the movie. I mean, I think because of some of the like issues with him just being some German dude,
Yeah.
being the chief, like it would have been nice to, I guess, see that he wasn't just evil in the
Mhm.
same way Ethan wasn't just evil. Like they were doing evil things.
Yeah.
They had evil thoughts, but they weren't. That wasn't who they were necessarily by nature. They were people who were used to war, driven by revenge, who were just like that's consumed them.
Right. And as
But I liked where the reveal was in the movie. It was just kind of because of the other problematic things.
right. And as a viewer
It
today,
felt like a long time to figure that out.
right. As a viewer today, you kind of already assumed that Scar had a lot of motivation for what he did. Like you're already kind of like excusing all of his misdeeds. Like, man, that guy probably went through a whole lot of rubbish from all these people to get to the point where he was like,
Yeah.
that's it. I'm going to
Right.
like get you back. So I felt like I excused his behavior a little faster than I did Ethan's.
Yeah, it wasn't like he was
Like I
is it
didn't need an
Magua
explanation.
from Last of the Mohicans, right? Where he just kind of was a dick.
Mago is really just a dick.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a dick,
Good
and
movie.
Ethan was a dick, but they were like, yeah, dicks because they've been brought up to think terrible things about people, and they've been treated terribly by
Yeah.
people. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe reading too much into the movie, but again, I thought it was good. I love me some John Wayne every now and again.
Yeah.
And man, it was such a gorgeous movie at times that
Mhm.
it was very easy to watch. I was telling somebody else today, like from that opening shot, I felt taken care of
Yeah.
visually.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I think I said that maybe on like with Kurosawa or something, but like
Yes.
you're just
exactly
like,
right.
oh, okay, I can just watch this,
Mm-hmm.
and at the end of the day, I'll be fine because
Yeah.
clearly someone's got control of this movie.
You're right.
They also, I remember reading that the comment was it was the best Western that had been made since Shane. And I don't remember seeing Shane. So now I'm kind of like, okay, now I need to watch Shane.
Yeah, Shane's actually on a lot of lists of one of the best Westerns of all time as well. But it was like best Western until or best Western until.
Yeah. Well, the ending is Shane.
I haven't seen it, Pat, so you can't tell us what it is.
Shane.
Spoiler alert.
Shane.
Spoiler alert.
So now I do kind of remember a little bit. Now I just need to rewatch.
Oh man.
Come on.
Yeah.
I
don't remember much of that
not
movie,
doing
but I
another
certainly
Western
remember the
next
end.
week, folks.
No,
We're
just
not
might
doing
just be
another
for
Western.
funsies, but they blend together so nicely.
I know we're getting doing all this.
I'll throw one more fun fact that I just remembered.
Oh, yeah,
in terms of influences, obviously like Scorsese and Spielberg and everybody's influenced by John Ford, but
Star Wars.
Star Wars. Going the
Lucas.
Yes, there we go.
Star Trek and Star Wars all in one episode.
Exactly. The burned village.
Yes.
Coming back to seeing Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru.
Yeah, the kidnapped
burned.
relative.
Just 100% stolen kind of that scene.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Excellent.
It's good stuff.
That's very good stuff.
Good stuff. And have you guys seen The Fabelmans?
Yes.
I know, and I see now I want to, and I'm so glad I watched this film first because I know it's referencing John Ford.
Watched The Fabelmans.
Well, I haven't because
Call him out.
one, I wasn't in the.
I only
theaters
saw it
that
recently.
week. Yeah.
Yeah, I only saw it recently. But anyway, yes, John Ford is referenced in The Fabelmans, and it's specifically stuff about composition.
Yeah,
put the horizon
movie
up high or down
it.
low.
Yeah.
And it works, man. It works. Big sky or big land, and it 100% pulls you in.
Yeah.
Well done, John.
Because he knows the craft. That's the thing about John Ford, and he was blind. He couldn't see a dang thing. He's got an eye patch. He's like barely can tell what's going on the monitor.
He's doing.
Maybe that's why everything was in focus, because he's like, I can't tell. Just put it all in focus.
Yeah, I don't have depth perception. There's a funny. I saw a little clip of, I think Peter Bogdanovich or somebody was filming or doing an interview. He's like, so you have this great like chase scene in Stagecoach or Three Bad Men. I forget what the movie was. He's like, how did you film that? He said, with a Camry. Like just he also this kind of like such a straightforward blunt guy that is also pretty fun. I don't know that he was a good guy, but
I think he and John Wayne were pretty good
dynamic
friends.
So they're probably
if
not
that
good
says
guys.
much.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And Burt Ward, so you could that probably says a lot about him too.
Oh my goodness, that's
yeah,
good stuff. And this wasn't even like that popular. Like people didn't like it because it was so dark. And I think your mom just said it. Like it's so dark.
It wasn't.
So
it wasn't hip at the time. To be
but it wasn't dark
depressing.
enough. Well, it was hip because new filmmakers were coming out with like darker stuff at that time. But it was so weird to see it with a John Wayne film. I mean, kind of like Training Day. Like, how many people watched Training Day when it came out?
Oh, just once.
Yeah,
once was enough.
It was rough, right? But like, you're like, oh, I like to watch Denzel as a good guy.
Yeah,
I'll go watch Remember the Titans again. Thank you very much. So it didn't get. It wasn't liked when it first came out, and then later it just started to like, oh, this is amazing. And a lot of people say that's the case. Like you watch it once and you don't appreciate it because of all the nuances, but then you watch it a few more times and it's like, oh, it's all about the nuance. Mm-hmm. It's all about not forcing down the message down your throat, but like noticing, oh, this is
the subtleties.
This is not about the big, but the subtleties make the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think we have the benefit of like wanting the movie to be more progressive, but like giving it some props where maybe at the time it was a little, like not great that it was kind of progressive or trying to be progressive.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no,
which feels weird to say about this movie.
I would totally say it was trying to be progressive. I'd totally say that.
But I think that's part of the business of watching the best movies of all time is knowing that you have to take certain things with a grain of salt, knowing that at the time, this was okay. and
Yeah.
certain things were accepted, and this was mainstream, or we hadn't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
But we've solved all of it now.
Totally, we're fine now. We've got it under
Remember-
control.
Oh my gosh.
Do you guys remember racism? That's gone now.
I know. Thank goodness.
Out the
That's
window.
funny. Oh, this is interesting. David Lean watched this movie repeatedly while preparing for Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Oh yes, I heard that. To learn how to
That's
shoot
crazy.
landscapes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's so good.
Which is it's funny because
Very
yeah,
different
Lawrence of Arabia is the
landscape,
other like
equally beautiful.
whoa.
yeah, same thing.
Yeah. But yeah, of course, if you're gonna shoot a landscape,
Oh, can we
definitely look at some John Ford.
Can we also talk about the Charlie and Martin wrestling match and how much dirt was involved?
Oh, and they both bit each
So
other.
much
That was
dust.
Oh, that was hilarious. It was.
What was the spit?
You know what reminded
Why
me,
did
though?
he spit over the piece of wood? I couldn't figure that
I
out.
don't know,
Could
but
not figure that out.
It reminded
I guess that
me-
was like this is real, right?
Yeah.
Like some kind of
It
you're
reminded
gonna
me.
spit on my side of the log. That means we're doing this.
That's-
Right.
oh,
It
cool.
reminded me very much of the fight scene in The Quiet Man, who Burt Ward is also in.
Still
and
haven't
John
seen
Wayne.
it, Mariah.
I
Still
know
haven't
you guys.
seen it.
Come on.
I know it's.
But the
it's
fight
got-
scene is very similar to this one, although they're like in the grasses of Ireland. But
Aye.
very similar fight scene. Funny.
There's that was one of those things too that's like it's not like an impressive fight scene,
No.
right? Like they're just
No, it's
rolling
very
around.
bad.
Is realistic.
And
most
also-
Very
likely.
bad.
Yeah.
Very realistic.
Yeah. And it was pretty some of the tonal shifts I didn't love, but like him being like, where do I put my hat? And
Oh,
Martin
whose
being like, I
violin
got
is
it.
this?
And like,
Who's fiddle?
That was
yeah.
great.
Like
So good.
there's some really stuff like there's people have a little manners.
Yeah.
And then
Falling
at the
over
end they're
bench
like,
again.
and they're like, you bit me, dog.
it's fine.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like, no, it doesn't hurt.
Yeah, I believe I bit your ear. It's okay.
So funny.
Oh yeah, and the Reverend being like, "Wait, is this in the line of duty?" And he's like, "No, it's personal." He's like, "All right,
go
carry
for
on,
it.
no
Yeah,
biting."
That's so good.
No, wait, no
No biting.
kicking.
Yeah, no biting.
Yeah, no kicking. Apparently, it's just fists.
So over under, did Jeffrey Hunter have his shirt off in 20% of the movie or closer
was
to
a
50?
lot.
It was a lot.
It was It was adequate. But it also
they
did
gave him
make
a
you
bath
confused because they're
scene
like,
and-
are you in the desert or is it winter? Because there was so many snow and ice scenes also. It's like,
Oh,
boy,
yeah.
you either had there was only 2 seasons.
Yeah. It
Yes.
was- yeah.
Heat or winter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, boy, it was a lot. It was a shocking amount where you're like, it's sure it's off.
All
again."
right.
There were
that's-
some minutes.
I know.
Yeah.
Get some skin action. And the buffalo scene was weird too, by the way.
Okay, that one was actually, speaking of things that made me uncomfortable.
Oh, disturbing.
I feel
Don't
like
waste the
they
buffalo.
they killed a buffalo.
It looked
for
like
this
they might
movie.
have killed a buffalo.
Oh.
But only
Like
one
that first one
fell.
that just drops,
Yeah.
Oh,
unless
yeah.
it was like a stunt buffalo
Yeah.
and they like pulled legs out or something. It was like that buffalo.
Oh
dropped.
yeah, he looks like I think they pulled it out.
I hope they used all of the buffalo if they did.
Yeah.
Because,
Well,
man,
you know.
Ethan was just going to waste them. Well, they can't eat them if I kill them all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
was he
that's
just trying to scare him away or kill
What
him?
a
I couldn't figure it
horrible-
out.
He was just vindictively killing them because if
Yeah.
he killed them, they couldn't kill them
Yeah,
and eat them.
it
Yeah.
was so weird.
He went a little revenge brain with
Yeah,
it.
it was a bit psychotic.
It's like it didn't make no sense, and that was the crazy bit.
Mm.
And even at the end, like he ran up and like held her, but he didn't tell
Marty.
Marty
I'm
like,
not
no, I'm
kill
not gonna kill her. We're good.
I don't think I think the whole point was that he didn't know until he did that. That he was like,
Until
okay,
he got
you're
to her.
gonna go
I know
home.
the pick up motion was
And certainly after being
so-
shot with an arrow, he could not have picked her up like that.
Yeah, she's a grown woman.
Yeah. She's
I mean,
you know,
Natalie Wood is little, but still,
yeah.
that was interesting.
Yeah, he lifted her right up.
Yeah,
Those are
That
impressive.
shoulder
Actually,
wound. But you only saw the back.
there's
of him.
another scene in the fight scene
Oh,
where they're
okay.
wrestling around one guy grabbed somebody and tossed him away like they were nothing.
They probably
great.
were nothing.
And I was like, who's this strong man? And where's this paper man going? Like, it was like, get out of here.
Scarecrow.
Like a chuck in a bale of hay. It was crazy.
That's so great.
Yeah, a lot of iconic moments for me
That was
in
good.
my brain. Good and silly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
So do you recommend this movie?
Oh, it's hard for
you need more stuff.
2023, right? No. I was about to go. I was about to land the plane as well, Pat. Like, do we recommend it for 2023? It's rough.
It depends on who you are.
Yeah.
Are
Well-
you doing this strictly for film appreciation?
I think
Then
snob.
yes.
I think for a snob, yes, you got it.
Yeah, you got to. It's
Snobs-
so
snobs
rough.
should be
Casual
able to
viewing,
calibrate.
no.
Yeah.
No.
Nah.
It's still very yeah. It's not a fun view though, too. I mean, it's fun for like snobby movies, but it's not fun for like a
It is.
Yeah,
dark.
it wasn't fun.
right.
It was
Despite the
complicated.
hijinks that they
Yeah.
sprinkled
Yes,
throughout.
despite throwing in some silly stuff.
Yeah.
Like the other thing. Boy, I keep remembering stuff. The dancer when they were in Mexico.
Oh, that was
She
such
was
a
like,
weird
tick,
bit.
tick, 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 tick,
I'm like,
tick, tick.
girlfriend is really trying to get going, and,
And
he's
then
just
she like
aloof to
sat down to
everything.
eat,
Oh, and then she's
you
just
know,
eating
with
up.
him.
Yeah.
And then it was like, and now we're out of here. I was like, why is this lady in this shot?
Yeah.
Like,
That
And
was
she didn't look as
Like-
young as he did, by the way. She looked a
No.
little bit older.
no,
Little
she looked a
trash.
little older.
Mm-hmm.
She's seen a
But I
few.
was like, what is this?
Yeah, she's being obnoxious with the dance, and then she's like
Oh my gosh.
voraciously eating next to him and taking
Yeah.
stuff off his plate when she sees him get up too.
That was a great bit
Yeah.
too.
Oh.
Tis a silly place.
It was very
So-
silly.
we'll not go to Spam a lot. It's a
Yeah.
silly place.
But yeah, I would honestly, I brought this up at work today. I was talking to somebody about, again, just the cinematography and the color and like, it's amazing visually, like truly
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
great.
Until they
even
do the
that
fake
kind of-
backgrounds randomly, like
Yes.
gorgeous,
But-
real snow shot. Oh, fake crappy mountains in the background. Oh,
Right.
got it.
But there's something about that VistaVision Technicolor
Yeah, there really is.
in these gorgeous landscapes that you're like, this is wonderful to look at.
Mhm.
And so I think it
colors are nutty.
there for anyone who I think cares about visuals and cinema in that way, 100% look at it.
Mm-hmm.
It's an iconic John Wayne, John Ford movie. So if you care about their filmography, I think you got to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, John Ford is a necessary director in the history of cinema.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
John Wayne is such an icon. It's hard to not deal with him as an actor.
Yeah.
So this is kind of
Yeah.
like the mix.
So
of
I think
both,
you got to
right?
watch it.
Yeah.
I think you got to watch it. As
Okay.
weirdly as like acclaimed as it is, I don't know that a lot of people have seen it.
Yeah, I would agree because I don't think
Yeah,
it's as fun.
I agree.
Yeah, it's so every like movie that the shot through the doorway, that is like the shot. I loved your take about his body posture because it's interesting. As much as I am posing people, I am still not as actively dealing with their posture as you are as the animator who literally has to think about every joint movement.
That door scene kind of reminded me of Citizen Kane.
Ooh, good.
The whole like window.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Yeah. The darks and the lights. And not to be afraid to like shoot just straight like shadows into
Mhm.
like crazy bright
Oh
lights.
yeah,
That
the
was
silhouetting.
the silhouette was great.
And
and they even used it like when they were inside. Like they used the silhouette shot and then went straight to inside, which was like then it was normally lit. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
that's a regular problem solving thing, but I guess that's what your eyes kind of do. But like it just did
right,
it.
yeah,
Just
they're
did
gonna
it.
adjust, but we're
Yeah.
doing it in cut.
It was great.
Yeah.
Anyways. Yeah, no, I think it's definitely a must watch for the snob list. I'm super glad we finally watched it because we haven't seen a John Ford movie yet, and
Yeah, we did. Didn't we?
we've done the other two. This is the first John Ford movie we've done, and it's the first because we did
Now I'm
Capra,
gonna fact check.
we did
Yeah,
Capra, and we
Capra.
did Houston, but we
Mhm.
haven't done Ford yet. So we've
You're
done the
right.
trifecta
You're right.
of the World War II directors, which is
I think the want list for me had a lot of John Fords on them.
yeah. You had a lot of
That was
John
my
Ford
problem.
movies. That's I haven't seen as many as you have, just because that's not
You weren't
know.
didn't have it shoved down your throat as a
No,
child.
no, I didn't.
Oh.
But that Pike reference, I was all over that because I've seen that pilot episode a trillion times.
Yeah.
I love that Pat didn't know.
That's so good.
I mean, I only Googled it, but
Still,
I was trying to. I literally asked, as I do, ChatGPT, like, what were like the biggest? And I said films. I think that was it. These actors were in. If I did like,
yeah,
what would you know these actors from? Maybe it would have given me Star Trek.
That's
There
a
you
good
go.
one. That's a good one. Side note: this is not all written by ChatGPT, despite
it is not.
Pat's,
But it is
all of Pat's
my
is.
research assistant.
Not
my
yet.
research assistant.
Yeah, that's a good
100% is.
That's good.
It's IMDb, it's Wikipedia, and it's ChatGPT.
yeah.
Sounds great.
There you go.
Mine-
That's how I'm so good at this.
Well, hey, good
So
job,
good.
research team.
So good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is all I learned. The douchey guy with the guitar didn't get the girl. So there you go, guys.
Sorry,
That's your
Sorry, Charlie.
Finally.
Is that where sorry, Charlie came from?
Oh, that's funny.
There
I
you
wouldn't
go.
want to be anywhere but here.
Oh dear.
That's a good
Yeah.
line. All right. Well, this is a good one. This is just a straight I would either go like a Budweiser, like your classic. Oh, Bud Dry, old school Bud Dry, because it's a lot for everyone. Actually, I have no idea what Bud Dry tastes like.
Well, and I think with our current things, Budweiser trying to be progressive.
Oh, that's so
and
funny. I
not
didn't even think about
not
that.
everyone
I
appreciating
totally
it.
spaced.
There you
Oh,
go.
good.
Maybe Budweiser's extra.
Oh, I don't know. That's funny. I'm not getting into this one because that whole thing is just dumb on both sides. Oh, whatever.
Poor Budweiser.
Whatever. Who cares? They're owned by some like Swedish company or something. Who cares? Like it really doesn't matter. They're not American anymore. So this movie, or you just say it's a whiskey, like a gross whiskey.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be a good one.
No,
just
it's
a
just-
shot. It's a shot.
Just the cheapest whiskey at the cheapest
Burns.
bar.
I mean,
Tastes
John
like
Wayne
burning.
had some terrible tequila when he went to Mexico. That first one,
Yeah,
That's
Apparently it was
right.
real bad.
That's
real
right.
bad.
So something obscure
Mhm.
that you might learn to like, and it maybe looked good before you drank it. I don't know. I don't have anything.
Yeah.
I just like beer. So there you go.
Here's the thing. I do wonder, like, is this movie gonna? The reason why this movie I think is gonna live on is because they don't explain things, and it's weird
Yes.
to think of this, but the best movies don't force the message down your throat,
Mhm.
and it helps the.
You can read a better story into it if you need to. You
You're
can
exactly
also be
right.
like, okay, this is probably what happened.
And every time
it's not good.
every time the movie's like telling you exactly what's going on, you're like, okay, this isn't, which is so silly. It seems like, oh, I need to be more clear with it. But no, all these movies we seem to be watching, like, life isn't that clear. So why should this movie be clear? Like, when we
Yeah, how
talk-
many things do we read into daily that are real and not real?
Oh yeah.
Personally, 80%.
Yeah.
Not real.
And I don't even know.
Yeah, just give me enough. Just give me enough to be like intrigued, and be like, oh, maybe there's something going on here. And then, like you're saying, Mariah, you can try and connect the dots in a bunch of ways. It's like fun.
Sure.
But then there's a clear,
Like Great
but they also had a
Gatsby.
clear thread of
Great Gatsby, another one that frustrates
we're
me.
trying to rescue this girl, right? Like it had a very basic
Yes.
thing that you had to understand, and then on the edges of that, it could be a little bit gray
Exactly right.
or a lot
Exactly
gray.
right.
Yeah.
And like in the last movie we watched, In the Mood for Love, like it was all about the subtleties, all about the what possibly, and then
What's being unsaid?
things being unsaid. And even what, like the other Western we watched, one of the best parts about it is there's very little dialogue for some of the best scenes. Like the best scenes in The Good, the Bad, the Ugly were the ones with very little dialogue.
Just
And arguably the
hyper
same is
close-ups,
true here. Yeah,
faces.
mad close-ups, just
And not
mad
spinning
close-ups.
around a cemetery.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, watch it,
good one.
folks.
It's a good one.
Watch it, you wannabe snobs.
You've got to do it.
Do it.
Until next time, guys, thank you for listening. This has been How to Be a Movie Snob with Pat, Mariah, and Seth. Thank you for listening. We will come to you again soon with some fresh content and some new, actually probably old movie.
Yeah.
Not super new.
Not super new anyways. But our goal...
Maybe new to you, snobs.
That's right. Hopefully new to you. Our goal is to become just a little bit more snobby about our movies and hopefully learn a little bit more about who we are inside. Until next time, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Today's podcast is sponsored by Seth David Films. Looking for a luxury wedding videography company in the Salem, Portland, Eugene area? Look no further than Seth David Films. Their team of experts is dedicated to capturing your special day in stunning high-definition quality. With years of experience... They are experienced. With years of experience and an eye for detail, we will create they will create with years.
You're ruining it.
With years of experience and an eye for detail, they will create a personalized wedding film that you'll cherish for a lifetime. From intimate elopements to grand celebrations, they offer a variety of packages to fit your needs and budget. Contact them today to learn more about their services and how they can make your wedding day unforgettable.